The euthanasia program really springs from the same idea, the same worldview that the Nazis have when they look at their racial community as they construct it and their enemies, their racial enemies. Now, the Nazis have a lot of enemies, real and perceived. But the enemies that they really target for destruction, we might call biological enemies. There's nothing that a Jew could do that could make him not an enemy of Nazi Germany. Not what he believed, not what he practiced, not the way he prayed. His biological makeup, as far as the Nazis were concerned, made him that enemy. And who are the racial enemies in Nazi Germany? The Jews, of course, most notably, also notably those Roman Sinti, whom the Nazis called gypsies, pejoratively. Those people are outside of the racial community that the Nazis built for themselves. But there's another group that's inside the Nazi community. They're inside that racial community that the Nazis believe they've constructed for themselves. And those people are what the Nazis call the hereditarily ill. They call them life not worth living. Those are people with severe mental and physical disabilities who the Nazis argue at once they're a genetic stain on the body of the German people. That's important, this genetic stain, because they're carrying hereditary disabilities. And they're also a financial burden on that society as it heads towards war. There's a sterilization program that sterilizes about 400,000 Germans. And then about the time that Germany starts to plan for war, in 1938, 1939, as territorial policy begins to radicalize, and as anti-Jewish and racial policies really began to radicalize around Kristallnacht in November 1938, there are voices within what's basically the medical community that say, not only do we sterilize these individuals and marginalize them, we're going to murder these hereditarily ill people. We're going to get rid of them. They are that burden on us financially and genetically on this ship of state as it goes to war. It targets, at first, infants and toddlers between the ages of, obviously, newborn to the age of 3, who have some kind of significant mental or physical disability. Beginning in October 1939, Nazi authorities encouraged the parents of these disabled children to bring them to what are called special pediatric wards. There were about 31 that we know of in Nazi Germany during the war years. And then these children, within a very short time, are murdered, usually by overdoses of medication, sometimes 2, by starvation. And beginning in October of 1939, this program that targets disabled children begins to be extended to adults. And we know that Hitler signed a letter on his private stationery authorizing Karl Brandt, this doctor, his attending physician, and Philip Buhler, his colleague, as kind of the leaders of the adult euthanasia program, which is called T4. Between January 1940, when this program begins, and August of 1941, about 70,000 patients are gassed in specially designed gas chambers. Their dental gold is removed, and they're cremated in special crematory ovens. This sounds familiar to you. It should, because a lot of this technology, the gassing technology and crematory technology, and a lot of the camouflage tactics that lure these patients into a false sense of security right at the door of the gas chamber are later taken and developed by the planners of the final solution, when they planned to kill Jews in stationary gas chambers in German-occupied Poland. Between August of 1941 and roughly August of 1942, you have a pause. Because this clandestine killing program on German soil, remember it's on German soil, in direct violation of the German Penal Code, begins to attract public attention and even protests. And that's significant because the Nazis it's a terrorist state, but the Nazis are also attuned to public opinion. And so for about a year, this program stops, basically. There's a pause in which the planners of the euthanasia program try to knock out the kinks. And a program that's more decentralized, that employs the overdoses of medication and starvation that were originally applied as killing techniques for children, that carries on from 1942 into the end of World War II in Europe, when Germany is overtaken by its Western allies. And about 250,000 disabled patients, the overwhelming majority of them German patients, are murdered in this Operation T4 or euthanasia program.